we didn't think we had to get any inspections. And
wait, you're telling me the inspector wasn't favorable to you guys?
Yeah.
You guys had a hard time going through an inspection period?
And he was
So we got Eric Wilson and Stephen Wilson from Wilson Mining here. We got our client Gian Mendoza here. He came to check out the site, and so we thought we'd give him a little podcast interview type in our classic, our professional studio that you've seen once before. We got our heater going. It's like 30 degrees outside. It's pretty cold in the...
cold and windy in Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little colder than Arizona, man. You guys got me freezing my balls off. Oh, is this PG? I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
Fuck no.
All right, that's what I'm talking about.
No PG stuff.
All right.
No, we don't. No, we're not. I guess we're not kid-friendly.
Yeah. Cool, man. No, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate you guys showing me your guys' setup. The hash looks great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, it was a bit of a process to get up and running, but
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys did it, and it's been great to see it all come together. I've been watching you guys' videos for quite a while now, so
Thank you.
It's
been awesome.
Yeah, it's cool to finally see like the full go like through the full stage with you, as far as like meeting you, and then getting your miners here, getting them set up, and then you coming all the way here and like getting to see everything like set up.
Right.
It's like it's all full circle, which is cool.
Yeah, man. Definitely. So, how'd you guys jump into that Bitcoin mining? Into Bitcoin mining and just really get into it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just made a lot of sense for us, right? So when you're kind of looking at it, you need like there's like so many different things that you need to like mine Bitcoin, right? You got to have a place to do it. You need the power to do it. You need land to do it. You need the expertise to do it. And so kind of when we were looking at all these things, we had a lot of them that already added up, right? So we already had land that we owned, so that piece of the puzzle was knocked out. Eric, since I was a kid and we grew up together, there's never been a single piece of equipment that he hasn't been able to figure out. And so basically, the bet was like, I'll bet that, he can still figure everything out. And, was exactly the case. Being here in Iowa, there's a wind farm right next to us, like the cheap power was there. So it's like you had all these different things that were already like all set up and in place for you. So it's like it just made it a lot easier for us to make that push where you're not going up against I need to buy the land. Where do I buy the land? Power, like maybe I'm not in a state that has really cheap power like everywhere. And so like when you're thinking about like setting up your operation, think a lot about like what are the things that you already have in place, like whether it's a building or the expertise, or like try to like double down on all the stuff that you already have and are good at, and then try to solve the other rest of the pieces. That's what got us into it. And when you're thinking about your own stuff too, it's like definitely be thinking like in that kind of mind frame, so to speak, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So who orange pilled who to convince each other to get into Bitcoin mining?
I was buying Bitcoin in early 2018. My neighbor, our neighbor got me into it, and I just started buying it, and then I kept buying, and then he called me up one day and said, "Hey, we we need to generate some yield on Bitcoin. The only way to do that safely is Bitcoin mining." And so I orange pilled him on Bitcoin, and I guess he got me on Bitcoin mining. I mean, I was already looking at it, but I was not serious about it.
It was a minute conversation, and Eric was like, "Yep, I'm ready."
Sold me.
I've got this amount. Like, how many miners can we buy? Like, let's go, or whatever. And that's how the whole thing started. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, man. So I got into Bitcoin just kind of first of all, the full disclosure, I got into shitcoining first. Yeah. Like most people do. Most Bitcoiners do. We go through our journey, and back in 2017 where everything was going crazy, I got into some shitcoins, made some money, but the bear market humbles everyone, right?
Yes, it does.
Lost some of my stack, but ultimately learned that the hard truth is Bitcoin is the only crypto out there.
Right.
Right. And so I've been a Bitcoin maxi ever since.
Yep.
And I've always wanted to get into mining ever since I really turned into a Bitcoin maximalist, and just didn't really have the resources to do so until I got my first house. And so once I got the house, I was like, all right, I know exactly what to do with this power. I got some empty spaces left over in my breaker panel, and just started hooking up some miners. So this was about 2021, so just right after the China ban.
Okay.
So I managed to get in a little bit on that dip.
Yeah.
You know,
Nice.
prices are still much cheaper now than they were then.
Yeah.
But you know, I still got in around a decent time and started just hashing away as much as possible. And ultimately, you know, during that time period, everyone was really fascinated. You know, Bitcoin price was rising. Mining was kind of blowing up. You know, you had home miners hopping on the scene. You had these big public miners really making a name, doing their proclaiming their hodl stack. Right? That didn't work out too well for most of them, but you know, mining was just kind of blowing up, and so I got a bunch of family and friends that were interested, and so I was like, hey, you know what, let's go on a group buy. This is what I'm doing. Let's go and host. So I kind of made that first initial group purchase with some family and friends. Sent some miners to Kentucky, and kind of just went down that rabbit hole. And as soon as we got 10 machines up and running in Kentucky, you know, it was just like an addiction. I couldn't stop. Kept learning. Right? Then you get into like overclocking firmware. You know, so that was kind of been my journey. And ultimately, I wanted to build out my own facility. I even got to the point where I bought 4 acres of dirt near a substation right by Palo Verde nuclear power plant. But then by the time that happened, the market kind of turned south. This is now like 22 last year, and it made it a little difficult to try and make any more moves going into building out that facility. So I got 4 acres of dirt by a substation. If anyone's interested on going in on a mine with me, hit me up. There's a lot of ups and downs with the industry, and it's overall it keeps you on your toes, and there's always something new to learn. And so part of my journey has following you guys, right? I saw you guys on Telegram, then YouTube, and I think initially it was the immersion mining is where I saw you kind of hop on the scene when you were doing your guys' setup. So I thought that was pretty cool. I had my own S9 in like a fish tank at home. I had it hooked up to like a Bronco radiator. So it was like mineral oil, an S9 fish tank, PVC pipe out to a Bronco radiator and a fan, right?
It worked, right?
It worked, right? So, and then I saw you guys on the Telegram chats and kind of went down that rabbit hole. And as I was going to renew my contract for hosting, I was like, all right, who's out there? And you guys seem like a great option, My background is in family-owned business. Like, we're a family construction company. You guys, family farmers and 2 brothers going at it, man. I really, enjoy that dynamic.
Lots to relate to.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right on.
It's a whole lot of just like fuck with you, you know what I mean?
Exactly, right? Like we can totally relate.
Exactly.
And it's a hustle, right? Like it's not easy work. So I saw you guys putting out the work, whether it was content or even the very interesting discussions that were happening on the Telegram chats. Was awesome to just follow. So that's kind of what led me to you guys, and then obviously Wilson Mining has great cheap power. No plug.
7.5 cents.
Shameless.
Checks out.
Shameless plug. But no, these guys are great, and you guys have been great, and there's been some stumbles along the way. It hasn't been a smooth process to get the machines online, but overall, very happy with how everything's come out. You guys are very personal, and have been so courteous to host me out here in this cold as hell place called Iowa. And I've just been thoroughly enjoying visiting the site, seeing what you guys have been doing out here.
We're always happy to show customers where their miners are.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was one of the things he was just describing this, like the whole content thing is we want people to see us to see us.
Right.
It's hard to trust someone on the internet, so you got to see the face, you got to see them in person, see your miners where they're plugged in, see them actually hashing it. I mean, it makes obviously a huge difference in our opinion.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, it does. If you're a hosting provider and you're not like putting out content about like who you are, where you are, and how you do things, it's just like it's a hard hurdle to get over as a customer to like, I'm gonna send you my thousands of dollars of my precious machines, like I'm like giving you away my babies, so to speak. It's an emotional thing. It's like you have to like put yourself in a position where like people can trust you, because otherwise, like, you just are not going to get, you're not going to get any business, you're not going to get any clients, and that's just the way, that's just the way the world works, right? So
yeah, it's all about building relationships in this business. That's for sure. I mean,
it is. Yeah.
We were just talking about that guy on Telegram who just kind of scammed everyone. And,
I mean,
Russia,
Max,
MAKZZZ or something like that.
Yeah,
right.
and it's it's the guys like that make it worse for the guys like us who are trying to be good and honest and everything like that. It's like you have those guys, and they're always going to be the guys that are trying to scam and take advantage of everybody, and you just have to be careful and know what you're doing and know who you're getting into bed with out there, and that this isn't like this is a very new industry, and we're all learning like literally in real time as we're all going here with everything. And so it's like rule number one is like everyone's going to be making mistakes, so like just make sure that you're with somebody that you can trust, because like whether you trust them or not, like their mistakes are going to get made, and you definitely want it to be with somebody that at least like they had the best intentions for you, versus like you being with somebody you've never met before, and now you're not sure, and are they pulling a fast one on you, and now I don't know, and it's like it's just a terrible place to be in when you're placing your miners with somebody,
like compass mining.
Like exactly, like I mean they're a shiningly bad example.
Well, the unfortunate thing too about compass is usually it kind of goes with the max situation. If it's too good to be true, it kind of is. And
right.
I really was hoping that compass would kind of work out, because it would be great to onboard.
It'd be
all
fantastic.
the plebs, people who are just looking to
onboard everybody on there. It'd be fantastic.
But in situations like that, it's one, too good to be true. To be frank, like when they were selling power at like 5 cents in Kazakhstan.
It's
like, come on, man. Max was selling 3 cents in Russia.
It's it's not. It's too good. It's too good to be true, and it looks all like really good on the front end of everything, but I can't tell you how many people we've talked to who have miners at Compass who are like, please, like, can you guys take them? Like, please take them, and like, we're full and we can't, but they're just like, I just gotta get my miners out of there. I gotta get my miners out of there. Like, it didn't turn out the way I wanted to, and they don't answer my support tickets, and like, I can't get to anybody, and it's like, that's the other, I guess, like, big advantage when you're going with like a small host, so to speak, is you're probably talking like directly to the guys who own the place, and you probably have like their direct phone numbers to reach, and that just makes all the difference.
And that's just like in general. Like, doing business with small businesses is the way to go. Right? You can do something with like you can do business with a bigger corporation, but you're just gonna be another ticket or another a number in their P&L.
Exactly.
So it's kind of building that relationship and having that connection with the owners and operators on the side.
It makes a huge difference.
And then as far as like when you guys are going through the process, were there any situations that you think you could have done differently as far as getting the site up and running, or for the most part, I know you guys had the site number 1. This is actually site number 2. Like you guys talked about in the past, so we don't really have to beat the drum with that again. But
it's anything. I mean, done differently. I
would have been more generous with it, because we kept saying early January, and then obviously we left some room for delays, but we didn't leave. Obviously, we didn't leave enough. So if we would have said March, we would have been, we would have came out.
We should.
Heroes.
I would. If this is your if it's your first time, your first install, your first container, just give yourself like 3 extra. Months, it's like a lot of the problem is like managing the expectation, right? So it's like when you tell them, January, and it's, instead it's going to be March or late February, or, however many months delay, whether the fact that they're up and hashing in January versus March doesn't make a big difference. It's what you told them,
right?
And it's just like, allowing yourself like a ton of just, we'll call it a big margin of error with everything, because like you're gonna run into problems and things you didn't foresee. And for us, that was an inspection, and we didn't think we had to get any inspections. And
wait, you're telling me the inspector wasn't favorable to you guys?
Yeah,
you guys had a hard time going through an inspection period.
And he was an ass to us, you know, and he
so
obviously
particular.
and he just, you know, obviously didn't like, you know, and that's the thing, he didn't like Bitcoin, right? It was pretty obvious the way he was like critiquing us. He didn't like it, and he had his mind made up about it. But you know, there's nothing that, you know, you can do about that. But the point being, it's just like, you know, you're gonna run into these people who have these, you know, preconceived notions of like what Bitcoin is and what it's good for and what it's not good for, and like you're just not gonna get around that, so to speak. So it's like you just have to give yourself, you know, tons of margin, and it'll help you. And don't overpromise anything to people, because that's just all everybody's doing is overpromising a bunch of stuff and under-delivering. And so it's like, if you could just under-promise and meet expectations, or maybe even over-deliver a little bit, I mean, you're just gonna look like a rock star,
right? Well, just beating expectations.
Yeah,
right?
just meet the expectation. Like, you're gonna look like an absolute superstar, you know, in this space. And it's like, you know, you got to give everybody a lot of, like, you know, benefit of the doubt, because it's like we are kind of building this whole space, like a bunch of, you know, it's a bunch of us, and you know, a lot of us, this is like, you know, your first or your second business, and it's like, you know, everyone's in their like early to late 20s or like 30s. It's like everybody's so young and just ambitious, you know. It's like we're really just like lacking a lot of like
follow through.
Yeah, well, just like, you know, we don't know, you know, there's not a lot of like professional procedures yet, for the space, you know, like in an industry that with, you know, tons of history. It's like we're still building all that, like, you know, right now as we speak, and it like takes time to get that, you know.
Well, that's one thing I definitely appreciated about you guys, even though there were those time periods where you guys had delays. At least you guys are in constant communication. Like that's huge, right? Even if there's like not an update to be had, like, hey, this week, you know, we didn't get anything done. The inspector canceled.
Whatever.
Hey, nothing's happening this week. That's an update. Staying in that constant line of communication with your clients makes a huge difference.
Yeah, you can, you know, you can do pretty much anything but lie to people. You know, you can pretty much, you know, people are almost always okay with like the problems that come up with like just what happens when you're trying to start a business, and most people are super understanding, you know. And the second you start lying about it is the second that suddenly everybody has, you know, I don't have any more, you know, benefits to give you, like I don't want to talk to you anymore, I caught you lying to me, like, you know, those are you know, consequences. And especially in a space where, like, you know, trust is such a big issue. It's like if you get caught lying one time, it's super hard to recover from that, and that's just how it is. You just have to double down.
I'd say rightfully so, to be fair, though.
No, definitely.
I mean, there's a lot of, you know, there's been a lot of bad actors, and there, you know, still will be a lot of bad actors, and, you know, until they all finally get weeded themselves out. But, like, you know, that's the space that we're in, guys. It's the Wild West. It's the Wild West right now, and, you know, we'll look back at these times and it'll be like, man, can you remember back in 2022 and 2023 when it used to be like you used to meet people on these like Telegram channels?
Telegram is crazy,
like shit like that, and like we'll just be laughing about it. Like, can you believe we used to do that? We should just send our miners to these guys, just laughing.
You know, it's
about
funny.
it.
I tell my parents about this stuff all the time. Like, hey, I'm talking to this guy who's in Paraguay. Right? He's got less than 6 cents. She's like, wait. You're talking to someone in Paraguay? You want to send like $25,000 worth of money? What? Like, what's going on here?
It's crazy,
and it's not out of the ordinary. Right?
No,
we're just another person in this mix of guys just trying to hustle and get stuff. Guys and girls. Trying to get stuff done in this space. But you got to take some risks.
No, it is. It's you know,
it's tough.
Yeah, but you know, at the end of the day, we take these risks because there's reward on the other end, right? And it's gonna take hard work, dedication. We were talking about this earlier. Like, there's some luck to be had in it. Like, you could say you're lucky that you had some land in Iowa, and Iowa just happens to have amazing electricity.
Right.
But you have to be able to execute on that. Right?
Yes.
And that's what happens a lot too in this space. Is you have some of these salesmen or finance guys, and they're, you know, they can sell you the world, but can they deliver?
Yeah. So we make fun and we say, it looks good in the spreadsheet.
Right.
But you see the site, there's no fucking spreadsheet out there. Right. That spreadsheet's not gonna help you out here. Like, you definitely, you need like an Eric on your team who can understand, like, okay, this is how I need to build it. I know how to do this, or I know how to work with the electrician. And you definitely need some, like, I would call him like a blue collar guy who really understands, like, how to make shit from the ground up and understand the electricity and all that kind of stuff. Because if you're just coming at it from like a finance background and you don't understand like the real technical stuff of the electric, like, boy, you're in for a steep learning curve, and I mean, that stuff is very, very complicated. Like, it's like you mixing that and some HVAC stuff, and you also have to know all the Bitcoin stuff. It's like you got to have like such a wide area of expertise. It's like you really need somebody to like help you, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, don't try to do this all on your own. Like, it's just so difficult. Like, you need help. Like, it's just hard.
Oh yeah. I mean, even like with me knowing the stuff, I can't do the marketing stuff. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. So it's like,
I know you made some pretty good memes, man. I definitely was hitting that retweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a great point. It's my background's in construction. I grew up in the trades, and it's so easy to put together a spreadsheet saying, here's my economic model based on this hash price. This is how it should all play out. But a lot of people that I know that's in this industry that are actually executing are from the trades.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Like, I have a buddy in Kentucky who was a lineman, HVAC. He has all this background.
Yeah.
I mean, he's building like a 3 megawatt farm out there.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And it's because he has the know-how. Yeah, there's some financial backing that's required to get that done. But at the end of the day, it's like you got to have boots on the ground and people who have the relationships with people. Whether it's foremans out on site or even getting someone to take off the container, right?
Somebody who can operate some heavy machinery. You need guys like that, because those containers are, very, very heavy. You're not going to pick it up by yourself.
They're like 3,000 pounds, right? Or 3,000 kilograms.
It depends on where you order it from.
Right?
Yeah. It's from Canada. Yeah, it's kilograms.
Yeah. So that was a funny story. So when we were when we were buying it from upstream, and they told us the weight in
4,200.
Yeah, it was 4,200 kilograms. And so they just told us 4,200, and we just instantly thought 4,200 pounds. And we told that to our machinery guy. He was like, "Yep, I got a machine to do that, no problem, whatever, blah blah blah." And so when we get there, and it's like, "Fuck." It's not pounds, it's kilograms, and so you got to redo everything, and now that piece of equipment isn't gonna work, and so now you got to get a whole nother piece of equipment, and so, like, I guess to bring it back to like giving yourself margin of error, like you're gonna need to give yourself some, because that stuff is just gonna happen, and
especially your first time around. You're gonna run into these issues like non-stop.
Right. Yeah. Let's switch up the topic and talk about just like ASICs.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
I guess we could talk about like some of our favorite miners that we've been running.
Yeah, up until about maybe a month or so ago, I've been a Bitmain brand whore. Like, I just you kind of suckered into the efficiency.
You
kind of get your most bang for your buck. But over the last couple of years, you've heard more and more about how WhatsMiner is just so much. They're the new tanks, right? They're the new S9s. They're the ones that are out in West Texas, actually handling the weather better than the S19s. And XPs and whatever they have going on in those harsher environments. I personally haven't had any issues with my J Pros. I'm running the 104s, but
how long have you had those for? How long have you been running them for?
So the longest two that I've had have been going on 2 years now.
Okay, and they have had no issues.
No issues.
Nice.
Which I'm trying to think.
Those are the two that I'm running at my house, and then the 10 that I have with you guys over here, those are just a couple months behind, or not even a month. Just about a month. Yeah.
Because they all look pretty nice. I mean, you can tell. I mean, obviously they've been running for a few years, but they look pretty nice. You have no issues, huh?
None. No, and that's been a hard sell for me because I get people telling me, "Hey, you should really try the WhatsMiners," and I did. I just recently went on another group buy. We got 25 M30S++, the 160 models. And I'm really interested to see how those perform, right? Those aren't running yet, but hopefully they'll be bulletproof, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. I just want some reliability in the machines, because ultimately it comes down to uptime, right? Because if you're constantly replacing parts, like the S17s were terrible. I mean, I didn't fortunately have any, but I've had buddies, go through heat sinks. I mean, they've arrived dead on arrival with heat sinks already falling apart. Right.
Yeah.
So I think Bitmain's learned from that experience, but they're now saying that they might have issues with the XPs and the aluminum backing, and so who knows what's going to happen with that.
I it's funny, like a lot of the I guess call them the OGs of the mining space, all swear by the What's miners,
right?
And they're pretty vocal about that too. And I think that, just go back to the same point. It's they don't break down as much. If they're going to be tanks and they're in the middle of West Texas and it's hot, but they just run the whole time, it's cool. I'll just give up the efficiency. Don't care. Because I'm not having to sit on these things while they get fixed for 30 days, and then I lose 30 days of hash, so to speak.
And the money, because you got to pay for it to get it fixed, too.
Right. If you're looking at it, and then if you're looking at it from just a dollar cash flow perspective, it's okay. Yeah, if you're a finance guy and you're in your spreadsheet, it's okay, if you got to replace something every couple of months, it's that's really knocking at your cash flows right there. So it's you kind of start to weigh things a little bit, but it'll be interesting. We've bought mostly, we have all S19s. We haven't had any issues.
Okay.
Any issues with ours? They've been super, super good.
Are you guys What's Miner curious?
Yeah, we are very curious. Yes.
Because when you brought yours, I think I told you I was very curious to how they were going to do against our S19s.
Yeah.
Because we have one S19 Pro 110 that we've been air cooling now since late 2021. Or early 2022.
Yeah, early 2022.
So it has been about a year, actually.
Okay.
It hasn't had any issues when we were air cooling it in the warehouse basement. For 6 months, and then when I took it apart to clean it, so put it in immersion, it wasn't even dusty at all. I imagine obviously the filtered air has something large to do with it. I think that's one of the big things is, when we get some of these miners that are in rough shape, you can clearly tell they were in a warehouse with no filters. They just had, pulling outside air, and they just there's bugs all over them. The front grills are rusty as shit. There's corrosion everywhere, and the reason there can be corrosion is too much water, in my opinion. I don't think dust doesn't cause corrosion; it's just water. And so, that's just another product of just not filtered air, so to speak.
Right.
It's just the environment these things are in matters so much.
Yeah. But they're pretty, they're pretty resilient, though. I feel...
Yeah.
For an electronic device.
Fair enough.
These things are just getting beat to shit all the time, transferred from one hosting site to another. So it's kind of crazy to me that they just keep running.
No, I know. It's actually... it's shocking. Even the environments that a lot of them are in, it's you're surprised that such a crazy supercomputer type thing can actually run in these environments, which is super impressive.
Quick question. Eric, you had mentioned that you had been running the S10 or the 110 Pro in immersion, and then you went, and now it's air cooled again?
So we went from air cooling to immersion back to air cooling.
Okay.
So we were air cooling it in the warehouse basements for 6 months. And then we bought our immersion setup, which it's in the background here. You can't see it, but it's back there. And then, we unplugged it. I had to clean it out. There wasn't really much to clean. All I did was took 99% isopropyl alcohol, took a paintbrush, and just kind of brushed out the heat sinks, because, again, it wasn't dusty at all, really, which was surprising. And then took the fans off, took the PSU fans, stuck it in the immersion tank, and just let it go with brains, and it was happy as can be. Then at the end, we ran it for 2 months before we got the first power bill. Power bill was 18 cents. Took it out. Thought, hey, we can't rock here anymore.
Yeah.
Go to the second site. Once we got that up and running, got it back to air cooling. Again, same process. Dunked it in 99% isopropyl alcohol. Cleaned all the immersion fluid off. Put the fans back on. I did not repaste all the chips because it wasn't in there that long.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
I didn't think it was that big of a deal. No.
Issues.
It's been so cold recently, but no, it's been running just fine. I think it's actually because The older S19s, I've noticed they run the fans max speed almost all the time.
Okay.
So the outlet temps are usually like 48 degrees Celsius. The inlets are like 19 to 20, depending on what it is temperature outside. But this S19 is no different. It's constantly sitting at between 40 to about 55 degrees Celsius, which is perfect temperature. Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, it might be a little bit cold, but no, it runs just fine. But once it gets in the hotter months, we'll see how it does. But no, it's been running perfectly fine.
Okay.
Because all the J Pros are the same as they were in the immersion for even longer, and they've all been running just fine too.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've always been reluctant or
Yeah,
curious to see how
from,
it would go to immersion to back to air cooled.
Yeah.
Because you do see the thermal paste settling at the bottom of the tank.
So
I imagine there's some air gaps in there.
Yeah, my theory is a lot of that is from because if you open up the PSU, have you ever opened up one?
Yeah.
You see there's a bunch of that white
They
paste.
just goop it all over it, right?
If you look in the bottom of our tank, it's that color paste. It's not because what comes off of the chips is almost like pinkish,
right?
And it's not that in there. So my theory is that stuff is coming from the PSU and it's not coming from the thermal paste. I could be wrong on that. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure some does strip off the thermal paste, but not at the rate that I think it does the PSU.
Gotcha.
That's my theory. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of comments.
Right.
But all I can do is match up the color. That shit's white in there. It's white on the PSU. It's pinkish on the thermal paste, and there's not really pinkish stuff in there.
Yeah.
So that's all that I can come up with.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed that.
I know.
Make it through the summer months, right?
We're approaching. We're about to find out.
There's only one way. I mean, it handled 50-degree temperatures just fine, but that's still pretty cold, though.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I guess along the same lines of ASICs, what are you guys looking at as far as coming to market? If you were to start buying, some new machines, what would you guys be looking at?
The XPs they're very overpriced. For
the XPs are, it's such a premium that I'm you're having a hard time making sense out of just how much of a premium it is.
The upfront cost.
And it's okay. I've heard Fred from Marathon talk about you have so much protection because of when the halving comes, you're just running the most efficient machines, and I get that to an extent, but I just really have a hard time because they're just so much more expensive. I'd be buying, J Pros. I'd be buying some What's Miners. I'd buy,
I'd be looking at the 134s.
134 XPs. I'd be looking at those.
Yeah, they have a little bit of a discount.
Yeah, they're $1,000 off, and it's 6-7 terahash, and you get the same efficiency.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Even the 122.
The J
Pro.
The new J Pro.
The mythical plus, right? The one that was supposed to be delivered early February or late February.
They're always, the boys at Bitmain are always late.
I know, man.
I'd be looking at that kind of stuff where it's just much better priced, versus the XPs.
Because typically, I mean, for most scenarios, your biggest CapEx is the machine, right?
So 100%,
any premium you pay on that is just going to delay your ROI. So,
right. And you got to really just be smart about when you're buying the machines, for how much, because if you mess up the machine buy, it's you're looking at the ROI becomes much longer, so to speak, versus if you're smart about it, and if you were buying right now, or even these last couple of months, you're buying these are great ASIC prices to be scooping things up at, versus late 2021 when we first bought our first one, that was not the time to be buying ASICs. It's kind of like a rite of passage where you overbuy. You buy the top on your first couple of ASICs, and that's just kind of how it goes. But being very, very smart about when you're buying them, and then having a plan where it's you keep all of your stack, and then let's say you want to buy a new ASIC. Okay, sell your old one used up at the top, break even, or maybe you even make a little bit of money. And then you wait for the next bear market to come, and you take all those proceeds and you scoop up the new miners, and you you kind of continue in a cycle like that versus.
Or you send them to like Venezuela or something like that.
Yeah.
Where you don't care if you send them, you know, they may or may not.
And they're on their last legs, but it's like, I don't really even want them back anyways. So
exactly.
It's like no big deal, so to speak.
Right.
But yeah, you just got to be really like strategic and smart about the ASIC purchases, and that was something that we kind of didn't do our first go on. You just get like overly excited, and you're just like, man,
I feel like that's everything in Bitcoin though.
Yeah,
like, I mean, I was buying too at the top.
Yeah.
I was buying Bitcoin 2017, 2018,
everybody
$20,000.
was, right?
Like,
I don't care. Like, I'm stacking sats. I'm grabbing all the hash.
Well,
like,
Bitcoin's about to be $1 million. Right?
Yeah, and Bitcoin's going to $1 million, so it's like, who cares? Like, I'm gonna be rich anyways, right?
Might as well just buy some S9s, right?
Yeah. Exactly, right? I mean, side note, what a crazy bet that is.
I mean, we can kind of talk about that a little bit too. Like, I hope Bitcoin doesn't go to $1 million in 9 days, because it
would be fucking pandemonium. It would be so bad. We don't actually want that. It would be complete and utter madness. I'd have to guard the facility 24/7, 365 because I mean,
you pretty much are running the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, no, like seriously, like it would be a complete and utter, madness, right?
Yeah, and plus, I mean, like we want more or less a peaceful transition as much as possible, something like that. It's like, okay, we are full anarchy.
I do not. Yeah, I'm in the camp. I don't want anarchy. I would prefer everything to be,
professional.
I'd prefer to have it take longer and be smoother than be faster and have there be quite a lot of mayhem in the mix. Balaji, I followed him for a while on Twitter. I think he's a super interesting guy. I've actually read his book, like Network State, and it's pretty interesting, and I think he's a smart guy. But ultimately, I think like what he's doing, I think he's just marketing. I think he's just sounding the alarm and saying, look, I think there's a bunch of bad shit coming on the horizon, guys, and I don't think he actually believes that Bitcoin's going to go to fucking $1 million in 90 days or whatever, but I think what he's trying to do is say, look, this is my way to make something so outlandish and ridiculous to get all your guys' attention and say, look, you guys got to like look at this now, like seriously, is kind of what I think he's doing, and I think that I think that's the right thing to do, because if you were paying attention to any of the bank shit that was going on, the alarm bells probably have to be kind of going off a little bit in your head.
I mean, even just your everyday person is now wondering what the hell do they do with their deposits, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it's it's one of those things where it's like, that's like the scariest thing for like, call it like just your everyday normal person, is like all of a sudden their money in their checking account is, they can't access it. Like that's the worst case scenario, like, of all time for them, and it's
talk about pandemonium.
Yeah, no, I mean, seriously, like, talk about fucking panic. Like, that's as panic as it gets.
Right. Yeah, and it's going to be unfortunate too, is like, as they keep, it's this Operation Choke Point 2.0 that they keep talking about, right? Well, not explicitly talking, but it's happening, right?
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, and if it just makes it harder for everyday people to just buy Bitcoin or even sell it if they had to, that's going to be, really shitty.
Yeah, no, I know.
One thing I've been considering or thinking about lately is the idea of selling hash, right? Instead of selling your Bitcoin. Yeah. And I know there's like markets, online you can buy, and I think it's like rigrentals.com or something like that. Okay. There's a website like that where you can list your miner for rent, and people can buy your hash for a certain amount of time.
For sure.
That's cool, but I think it's going back to like knowing someone, being more local, like your local Bitcoin farmer, right?
Right. Like that's a super interesting point, where it's like almost like a farmer market type vibe, where it's like you know your farmers, you go buy your eggs, you buy your whatever, your produce, and blah blah blah. And it might be like know your local Bitcoin miner, and you can go buy some hash.
You want to buy some Bitcoin from me?
Yeah. That's actually a super cool idea. I think that actually makes like a lot of sense.
Because I'm one of the co-organizers over at the Arizona Bitcoin meetup, and we've had a great turnout for the past year or so, and our community is awesome. And one of the things that we kind of have been introducing more or less like a market. So we have like a bookstore where we sell some stuff. It all goes back to the community, and we really just try to grow out the community, and try to build out education. I mean, we even have a guy that comes on and sells eggs for some sats, right?
Nice.
So that's pretty cool. And the idea of like,
Yeah.
you know, and then every now and then, you know, someone will do some peer-to-peer. We'll see some peer-to-peer Bitcoin exchanges go.
Yep.
But if you want to like kind of circumvent the actual selling of your Bitcoin, you know, find your local Bitcoin farmer. Buy some hash. Maybe like, you know, what's cool is like Luxor's doing that derivatives product, right? Where you can, the big players can like hedge their hash price.
Right.
It's pretty intricate. You know, I'm barely starting to learn a little bit about that, but you know, if you can do that on a more local layer, you don't have you don't have to be this big Bitcoin miner.
Right.
You know, you can just go to, you know, Steven.
Yeah.
We can go to a meetup. You're like, all right, man, I want like 100 terahash this week.
Right.
And we can agree on like a hash price, and it's kind of like that contract between us.
Yeah.
And I just point my hash at your pool account or whatever.
I think
you know
that's
pretty interesting.
I think that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, and it can even, so it doesn't even have to be dollars. Like, yo, 100 terahashes for
what, you know, whatever
a week. You know, that's some eggs. I'll trade you a cow.
Yeah, like, you know, it
or
could
something.
be like,
you know what I mean?
It could be like very barter type.
Exactly.
Like a barter type system. Yeah, that's a super cool idea. I could totally see that happening, because it's like you know, you have a hard time doing it with like if somebody's like all the way across the world, but like, you know, if I'm just like face to face with you, I can shake your hand.
Yeah.
And you just say, we got a deal. Sounds good. I'll, you know, see you next week and we'll settle up or whatever. And you know, that makes a ton of sense. I can totally see that.
See, you guys are 5th generation farmers, right?
Yeah.
Going on to there you go.
First generation Bitcoin farmers.
Yep.
First generation Bitcoiners. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. But it's crazy how many opportunities there are in this space to kind of just that haven't even been explored yet.
Yeah. I think I think if you're like an ambitious young person and you've got a ton of energy and, you know, you want to make your mark on the world, like, you know, this is the space to be in. You know, like everything is growing and everything is moving so fast, and there's new companies coming in and everybody's hiring, and like, you know, there's just so much happening right now, and it's like things are only gonna get, you know, more crazy, you know, as we continue to move on to the next, you know, 5, 10, 20 years, so like call it. It's like, you know, if you know, want to make your mark, like, you know, get into Bitcoin, like it's happening here, you know, and it's new and it's exciting, and it's like, it's just like all the stuff you want when like you're, you know, you're young and ambitious. Like you just want like all this action, you know, and like, you know, Gian will fly out and like see, you know, it's like,
yo, man, I'll catch like, a red eye at midnight after put my kid down.
It's just happening.
And
like,
then we'll drive 2 hours to Iowa. That's what it's all about, right? You got one time to live.
Yeah, like, you know, it's just like, you know, it's all happening. So it's like, it's such a exciting, you know, it's such an exciting space and industry to be in with everything.
And plus, it's people like you guys are awesome, man. I really enjoyed coming out here, you know, shooting the shit with you guys, talking to Bitcoin.
I know.
It's been a lot of fun.
It's
maybe next time we'll do some tequila.
We'll do it again with some drinks and see where it takes us.
Yeah, man. But this is awesome. I really appreciate you guys having me out here.
Yeah, us too, man.